Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
You know, there's times when schools go through cutbacks and the first thing they want to do is cut away from the classroom. I suspect that that might be feeding into one of the reasons that schools have a higher ratio than they would like. I mean, every school wants to have a lower ratio. It's what you can afford.
Studies show school counselors can maximize student success, but Minnesota's average student-to-counselor ratio is one of the worst in the nation.
Meanwhile, North Dakota has one of the best ratios in the country. Valley News Team's Rose Itzkovitz speaks to schools in the area and looks at the difference between the neighboring states.
Mike Martin is high school principal in Hawley, Minnesota. He says his schools have a better student-to-school counselor ratio than even the national average.
In our district, we're about 340 to 350 students per counselor.
Compared to the national average of 1 student to every 482 counselors, that's not bad. But according to the National Center for Education Statistics, school counselors in Minnesota have a much higher average at 723 counselors to every 1 student.
The need is there for kids to have that personal time with a caring adult and also to have that academic push, to have that academic preparation, to think beyond high school and all those kind of things.
Dwayne Borgeson of Moorhead Area Public Schools says Moorhead isn't quite as bad as the state's average, but it's up there at 515 counselors for every 1 student.
In more difficult budget times, there's had to be decisions made, classroom teachers versus the support staff, and unfortunately, support staff probably has not kept up with the growing need.
Still, he says his school is one of the lucky ones, as they have other resources in lieu of more counselors.
We have 3 school social workers, 1 wellness facilitator. We have mental health practitioners at the elementary school level and mental health practitioners from Lakeland Mental Health at the secondary level.
But he adds, not every Minnesota school has those other options, and that can be dangerous.
The incidence of mental health issues has gone up significantly in schools.
We have research that shows that when you implement a comprehensive school counseling program, achievement goes up, behavioral issues go down, and attendance goes up.
Eric Sparks of the American School Counselor Association says Minnesota's ratio might be so high because
there is not a state mandate in Minnesota that we are aware of, so it may be that it's district by district.
Compare that to North Dakota, where grades 7 through 12 are required to have 1 school counselor for every 300 students. And that may be the big difference, as North Dakota has one of the best ratios in the country, below the national average at 307 students to 1 counselor. In Fargo, Rose Itzkovitz, Valley News Live.
We also spoke with West Fargo about its student-to-school counselor ratios. The district follows the Century Code, mandating 1 counselor for every 300 students in its secondary schools. Though there's no law for elementary school counselors, it has about 1 for every 400 to 500 students as well.
North Dakota State University police need your help identifying these 2 people on your screen right now. If you know either of these individuals, contact NDSU Police at 231-8998.
Mother Nature is sending us a message that winter is still here. Although the snow is light and much of it might be melting as it hits the ground, it might cause some slippery conditions later on, so be careful. Hutch, will we be dealing with snow tonight?
Well, we certainly will, and in fact, for many of us, we'll deal with it on again, off again tomorrow as well. And this system really pounded the western and central Dakotas with significant snow. Bismarck 5 inches, 3V crossing in Slope County, southwestern portions of North Dakota, a foot of snow there. A little closer to home, Edgeley and Lemoore, 2 to 5 inches in your area. Here's a look at the latest radar, and we see bands of snow developing through the Red River Valley that are quite light. Colder temperatures in the Devil's Lake Basin allow that snow that you see up there to accumulate pretty rapidly on grassy areas. The heaviest of the snow, though, down in South Dakota and along the South Dakota border. As temperatures remain at or above freezing, at least early this evening, there'll be little accumulation here in the south. Overnight, the snow continues on again, off again throughout the Red River Valley, and many of us will wake up to an inch or 2 of slushy, wet snow. Some of us could see as much as 4 inches of snow. I'll have hour-by-hour details on your forecast for the first day of spring, but look a little more wintry than spring-like around here.
So the advice is the same. Take it easy out there driving. It could be slippery.
It could be slippery and definitely will be slushy.
All right, thanks.
You bet.
A Jamestown police officer and 2 Stutsman County deputies have returned to duty after a man was killed during a shootout with officers. The investigation found the officers were justified in using deadly force in the February 21st shooting north of Medina. The The Stutsman County State's Attorney says no charge will be warranted for Jamestown police officer Logan Horde and Stutsman County Sheriff's deputies Daniel White and Casey Young. Police used deadly force when Michael Schieffer led officers on a high-speed chase in Stutsman County that ended north of Medina. At one point, Schieffer got out of his car and fired a gun at officers, forcing them to use force. He was killed in the shootout. No officers were hurt.
The state of North Dakota has sued a former home remodeling contractor for not starting or completing the projects for 10 customers. Tim Rosine suddenly closed Studs to Rugs in Fargo last fall. The lawsuit accuses him of violating consumer protection laws 43 times, involving claims of nearly $300,000. Rosine refused to work toward a settlement before the North Dakota Attorney General's office decided to sue. Former customers are owed as little as $6,900 to as much as $80,000 for payments that were made up front. The director of the Consumer Protection Division says he doesn't know whether the people filing complaints will ever get their money back.
Minnesotans will be able to apply for Real ID compliant driver's licenses and identification cards before the current extension expires on October 10th. The development of the new driver services system, which will be capable of issuing real IDs, is fully on schedule, according to the company that's developing the new system in the state. Real ID is a coordinated effort by the states and the federal government to improve the reliability and the accuracy of state-issued ID documents, which should hinder a terrorist's ability to evade detection by using a fraudulent ID. Another extension beyond October 10th is possible. Governor Mark Dayton says they want to take advantage of every option to make the transition as smooth as possible for Minnesotans.
North Dakota Supreme Court has heard arguments in the veto lawsuit between North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum and the state legislature. The legislature sued the governor because they believe he exceeded his power by deleting words or phrases in a way that changed intent in several spending bills. He didn't talk at the Supreme Court this morning, but we did hear from him after the hearing. Burgum says the case evolved into something of importance.
Has evolved into a case of some importance because it's about defending the North Dakota Constitution and defending the governor's right to veto, which is an important part of democracy.
Burgum and the North Dakota Attorney General Wayne Stenjum both say this is an important constitutional issue.
A familiar name in Minnesota politics is taking a serious look at a run for his old job. Tim Pawlenty has formed a campaign committee to run for governor for the 2018 election. Pawlenty says, "I know what it takes to lead our state in the right direction at this pivotal moment in American history. I will make a final announcement soon." In order to make it official, Pawlenty must formally file for office.
If you're planning to sell an item to a stranger, we're going to tell you where the Fargo Police has set up safe spots for you. That's still ahead on Valley News Live at 6.
Up next, North Dakota lawmakers take aim at curbing harassment in the Capitol workplace.